This happened a few nights ago. I was on my usual night patrol in the Appalachian National Park. The trees felt like old friends, and the sound of the creek nearby always calmed me. After 4 years here, I thought I knew all the rules of the park. But that night, everything changed as I rounded a bend. I noticed the campfire rings at one of the popular sites glowing faintly despite no campers in sight. I thought maybe the wind had stirred up some embers or someone had left recently. Still, a knot formed in my stomach. Something felt very wrong. I parked my truck and stepped out, anxious from the sudden chill that rushed over me. The scent of pine wrapped around me, but it couldn't hide that creeping unease. I took a few steps toward the campsite, the darkness closing in like a heavy blanket. I scanned the area, searching for any sign of life. My heart raced. I spotted scattered items on the ground: clothing, a backpack, a half-burnt flashlight. No campers had packed up and left like this. I shivered at the thought that people might have vanished. It felt like eyes were watching me from the shadows. That's when I heard it. A rustle among the trees. I jumped, turning instinctively towards the sound. I swore I saw a shape dart behind a tree, just out of sight. "Hello? Is anyone there?" I called out. Nothing. In that moment, cold sweat trickled down my back, and the campfire's warmth felt like a distant memory. The stories I'd heard about things lurking in the woods rushed back to me, but I pushed them aside. It couldn't be anything. Then came a low growl from the darkness. My stomach dropped. I took a step back, every instinct telling me to run. But just then, I heard footsteps, soft at first, then louder. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The air grew still, and that feeling of being watched intensified. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow leaning against a tree. I spun around, my heart racing. "Who's there?" I shouted. No answer. It just stood there, silent and unmoving. I froze, uncertainty wrapping around me. I had the urge to bolt, but I also wanted to understand what was happening. "Are you okay?" I tried again. No response. The figure simply stared at me. I thought about the stories and was filled with dread. It felt like hours passed, but then the figure turned and slipped deeper into the woods. My legs moved slowly as I backed away, adrenaline kicking in. I'd always felt brave in this park, but that night, I second-guessed everything. Then, just behind me, I heard a voice whisper, "What are you doing here?" I whipped around, but no one was there. Just the trees, stretching into the darkness. That fear gripped my chest. I wanted to shout for help, but nobody would hear me. I got into my truck and drove away faster than I ever had before. Even now, sitting here, I can't shake that feeling. Those woods hold secrets I'm not sure I want to know. The next day, I couldn't focus. I replayed the events of the night in my mind, each moment standing out sharper than the last. I knew I had to go back to that campsite. I could feel it nagging at me, a weight on my chest that wouldn't go away. Driving back, I felt unease settling in again. The trees seemed taller, their branches reaching out like fingers, and every rustle sounded like a warning. This time, sunlight filtered through the leaves, but it did little to ease my anxiety. The truck bounced over the gravel path as I approached the campfire ring, but the familiar sounds of the park felt muffled, almost as if the woods were holding their breath. When I arrived, an eerie silence enveloped me. The campsite was just as I had left it. The backpack lay there, untouched. My stomach twisted at the sight. I stepped out, attempting to gather my courage. My eyes scanned for any sign of life, but no one was around. It was just me and the stillness of the trees. Then I noticed something new. A series of footprints led away from the campsite, heading deeper into the forest. They were large, more than a size or two bigger than mine. My first instinct was to call for backup, but I hesitated. If something had happened to those campers, wouldn't it be better to find them myself first? I followed the prints, my heart pounding. Each step felt heavy, each snap of a twig underfoot echoing in the quiet. The further I went, the darker it became. I could almost feel the weight of the trees pressing down on me. As I walked, I recalled the stories of people who wandered too deep and never came back. I dismissed them as folklore, but it was hard to ignore the prickles crawling up my spine. After a few minutes, the prince led me to a clearing. I realized it was the remnants of another campsite. Tents were collapsed, and scattered belongings were half buried in leaves. Panic rushed over me. I moved closer, my stomach in knots. Nearby, I spotted something gleaming in the sunlight. I knelt down to inspect it. A locket. I opened it up. Inside was a picture of a couple smiling, unaware of the chaos that might have unfolded around them. My hands shook as I carefully placed it back on the ground. Just then, I heard a crack behind me. I spun around, heart racing. There it was again, the figure from the night before. It stood at the edge of the clearing, shrouded in shadow, watching. I took a step back, fear gripping me again. "What do you want?" I called out, my voice trembling. Then everything went dark. I woke up suddenly, gasping for air. The world around me was shrouded in an overwhelming darkness. My heart raced as I struggled to make sense of my surroundings. I felt the ground beneath me hard and cold, though I had no idea how long I had been out. I called out, but the only response was the sound of my own voice echoing into the void. "Hello?" I tried again, louder this time. No answer. Just silence, thicker than before. I forced myself to push up on my elbows, blinking slowly as I waited for my eyes to adjust. The trees loomed around me like sentinels, blocking out the last remnants of light. A chill ran through me, and I could only assume night had fallen. I felt a rush of panic rising in my throat. I couldn't be alone here. Not after everything. Then I remembered the figure. My hands shook as I tried to get to my feet, concerned the mysterious silhouette might reappear. As I stood, my boot caught on something. I glanced down to see a piece of fabric snagged on a branch. It looked like the hem of a shirt. I swallowed hard, dread pooling in my stomach. Should I keep searching? Or should I head back? I knew I couldn't leave without answers, but I also knew I was stepping into treacherous waters. I decided, against all logic, to press deeper into the dark. That I moved cautiously, feeling along the trunks of trees for guidance. Then, a rustle made me stop in my tracks. I froze, breath caught in my throat. It was close, too close. I listened carefully, nerves tight. A low sound broke the silence, like a distant growl. My instincts screamed at me. Whatever was out there was not friendly. I took a few steps back, my heart racing again. Maybe I should go. Maybe I should just run. But then I thought of the couple in the locket, their smiles frozen in time, and I felt a surge of determination. If I didn't get to the bottom of this, who would? I took a deep breath. It was time to move. I stepped off the path, feeling the underbrush shift beneath my feet. With each step, the growling noise seemed to grow closer, and my skin prickled with fear. I tightened my grip on the flashlight I had retrieved from my pocket. It suddenly felt like my only weapon against the night. As I pushed through the trees, I stumbled upon something unexpected. A small pile of rocks, arranged meticulously in a circle. I knelt down to inspect it. Inside the circle there were offerings, bones, sticks, and what looked like a totem made from twigs. A chill ran down my spine. This was no ordinary campsite. That's when I heard it again, louder this time. The growl morphed into a snarl, primal and angry. I turned, my heart racing, but the shadows took on a new shape. Something moved, but it was too dark to see clearly. All I knew was that I had to get out fast. As I backed away, tripping over the rocks, I heard a low hiss. I had disturbed something ancient, and now I was no longer alone. I took off running, adrenaline surging through my veins. Every instinct screamed at me to escape, to put distance between myself and whatever sinister presence lurked in the shadows. The sound of my breath was loud in the silence, a sharp reminder of my own vulnerability. As I bolted deeper into the woods, I could hear the leaves crackle beneath my feet, and the growl echoed behind me relentless. My flashlight flickered, casting strange shadows that danced around the gnarled trees. I squeezed it tighter, willing it to stay lit. I needed to see, to find my way. Then, just ahead, I spotted a faint glimmer, something reflecting the dying light of my flashlight. I skidded to a halt, squinting through the darkness. It was a metal object, half buried in the underbrush. Against my better judgment, I crouched down to get a closer look. My fingers brushed over its surface, and I revealed what appeared to be a rusted badge. I recognized it immediately, a park ranger's badge. Panic tightened around my chest. What had happened to the ranger? Why was this badge here, out in the woods where no one should be? I pushed the badge into my pocket. It felt like a tangible piece of the mystery I needed to unravel. There was no time to ponder further. I could still hear the growling getting closer. I could feel it in my bones. Something was hunting me. I turned to run again, but before I could take a step, a shrill scream cut through the air. It wasn't human, but something primal. My blood turned to ice. I spun around, my flashlight beam trembling. Something dark slithered between the trees, moving fast. Suddenly, the growling stopped, replaced by a deep, reverberating sigh that seemed almost conversational, as if whatever was stalking me was pausing, maybe even assessing its options. In that moment, I realized I hadn't simply stumbled into a dangerous situation. I had intruded upon something sacred, something that had existed long before me, and now it was angry. Then, just when I thought the darkness would swallow me whole, I saw it. Two glowing eyes pierced through the brush, fixated on me with an intensity that made my heart race. The creature shifted, and I caught a glimpse of jagged teeth and matted fur in the dim light. Panic surged anew. I took off again, weaving through the trees, my mind racing. I needed to find a way out. I could hear it crashing through the undergrowth behind me, the sound unmistakably closer. But just as I thought I found my rhythm, the ground beneath me gave way, and I was tumbling, air knocked from my lungs. When I came to a stop, I lay in a small hollow, more dirt than ground around me. My flashlight flickered and died, leaving me in suffocating darkness. Silence fell heavily. I held my breath, straining to listen. Had I lost it? That S when I heard it again, that low growl somehow closer now. I wasn't safe. Not yet. And then I realized there was another sound mingling with it, footsteps, slow and deliberate. I pressed my back against the cold earth, heart pounding in my ears. Who or what was coming for me now? The footfalls tightened around me, steady and unrelenting. My instincts screamed at me to move, but I was frozen, huddled in the hollow. I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to block out the sound, focusing instead on my heartbeat. If I couldn't see it, maybe it couldn't see me. But the growl shifted, low and tense, resonating through the earth. I felt it deep in my chest, a shudder that told me it was near. The footsteps stopped, and I cracked open one eye, peeking out cautiously. Then I saw it, something dark and massive just beyond the brambles, crouched low like a predator watching its prey. The creature was all muscle, its fur blending seamlessly into the shadows, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it could smell my fear. This wasn't a random animal. It was intelligent, aware that a flash of movement caught my eye, something bright against the dull earth. My heart raced as I realized it was my flashlight. I had dropped it when I fell. In the dark, I could only see the glowing eyes, but now I knew there was a way to regain some control. If I could just reach for it. I made my decision. Forcing myself to breathe low and slow, I turned, inching toward the flashlight. Every inch felt like a mile, and I could hardly suppress the urge to bolt. The creature remained still, as if it were waiting for me to make a move. My fingers brushed the cold metal, and I gripped it tightly. Before I could even switch it on, a snapping twig pierced the air, loud, sudden. I froze. The beast reacted instantly. It lunged forward, its massive body bursting from the shadows. In that split second, I hit the flashlight's button. Light flooded the hollow. The creature was a nightmare come to life, long limbs, razor-sharp teeth, and those eyes, glowing fiercely. But as the light hit it, something unexpected happened. It halted, caught in the beam. Its front legs tensed, and I could sense its confusion. I took a shaky breath. This was my chance. I scrambled on all fours, clambering backward as I switched the flashlight to full power. The creature seemed to hesitate, this spark of light upsetting whatever equilibrium it thrived in. My chest rose and fell with urgency as I pushed myself to stand, muscles screaming for me to run. Then I spotted something else, a small, wooden sign jutting out from the ground near the creature. It looked old, moss-covered, and the details were faded. But there was a word etched deeply into the wood. Caution! The growl shifted again, louder. The creature regained its footing, looking furious. It didn't like the light, but it was done waiting. I darted around the tree, desperate to put distance between us. My blood flooded with adrenaline, but a part of me couldn't shake the curiosity about that sign. It felt like a warning, maybe even a hint at understanding the threat I was facing. Before I could think of its implications, the creature barreled after me. I had a moment to decide: follow the path of the sign or plunge deeper into the unknown of the woods. Either way, I knew I had to choose before I became its next meal. Suddenly, the underbrush rustled, and I paused. There was more than just the creature behind me. I could hear whispers now. Unsure of what I would find, I steeled myself. I had to move. I pushed through the trees, heart hammering in my chest, trying to ignore the whispers that grew louder, almost urgent. It was as if something else was lurking nearby, watching. I shone the flashlight wildly, the beam bouncing off trunks and ferns, searching for any sign of an escape or a clue. Then I heard a voice, low and raspy. "This way, run." I hesitated, glancing backward at the dark mass stalking me, its eyes still fixed on me. The growl simmered menacingly, but the whispers continued. The voice beckoned again, desperation creeping in. "Trust me. Follow." Without thinking, I sprinted toward the sound. The underbrush was thick, branches clawing at my clothes and skin, but I pressed on. The beam from my flashlight carved a narrow path through the trees, illuminating what looked like a break ahead. It felt like a lifeline in the chaos. The creature let out a furious snarl, and the ground trembled beneath my feet as it lunged once more. I glanced back, the glow of its eyes growing ever closer. My instincts screamed at me to keep running. I burst through the last of the brush and stumbled into a small clearing. Moonlight spilled in, bathing the space in silver. It was open, but I had little time to appreciate it. In the center stood an ancient stone structure, crumbling under vines and age. It looked like a forgotten shrine. The whispers intensified as I stepped closer. "Inside, hurry," the voice urged. I darted toward the opening, aching for safety. I didn't care if it was some twisted trap. I had to take the gamble. Just as I reached the threshold, a loud crash echoed behind me, branches snapping. I turned to see the beast move into the clearing, hesitating at the edge of the light. The whispers coiled around me, urging me on. Now! I didn't wait. I dove inside the structure, my pulse racing. The moment I crossed the threshold, the whispers morphed into a chant, rhythmic and powerful. It was as if the stones themselves were alive, weaving an urgency around me. I turned and pressed my back against the cool stone wall, holding my breath. The creature prowled in place, muscles taut, its glowing eyes darting this way and that as if searching for me. The light didn't seem to reach here. Darkness enveloped the back, but I could hardly see anything beyond those monstrous eyes. It let out another growl, frustrated, and I felt my own fear rising like bile. Then it happened. The earth beneath me shimmered with a strange light, pulsing in time with the chant. I could barely comprehend what it meant, but it felt significant, almost like a warning. My fingers brushed against the stone, and a surge of warmth shot through me. That was when I realized this wasn't just a hiding place. There was something powerful about this shrine, something that could potentially keep me safe. But from what? The creature seemed rooted in confusion and anger. But what else waited in the shadows beyond the clearing? As I pondered my next move, I heard a voice again. "You must understand." With the beast still outside, my mind spun at the uncertainty. I could stay hidden, but what about the danger that lurked in the dark? I had come too far to back down now. But before I could think, I felt the ground rumble fiercely beneath, shaking me to my core. And that when I saw it, a glimmering figure emerging from the depths of the shrine, surrounded by swirling shadows. It wasn't the creature from before, but it looked just as monstrous. I was out of time. The figure loomed before me, a tall shadow draped in a flowing robe that flickered like candlelight. Its features were indistinct, blurred by the darkness swirling around it. I wanted to scream, to run, but fear rooted me to the spot. "Do not be afraid," it said, its voice a low hum that vibrated through the air. "I am not your enemy." I tried to gather my thoughts. "What do you want? Who are you?" My voice trembled, but I couldn't let this entity see my fear. "Listen closely," it urged, stepping closer. The glow from its form cast eerie shapes on the stone walls, making the ancient carvings appear alive. There's a balance disrupted in these woods. The creature outside seeks something. It hungers for your spirit. You cannot let it take you. My heart raced. "What do you mean? Why me?" "The forest chose you as its protector," the figure explained, gesturing at the walls around us. "These stones hold power, magic that connects you to all living things in this land. You've unknowingly stepped into a role that goes beyond mere survival. Protect?" I couldn't wrap my head around this. Just days ago, I was the scared park ranger trying to keep visitors safe. Now I was supposed to embrace a destiny I didn't even understand. A fierce roar erupted from outside, snapping me back to reality. The beast was losing patience. I glanced at the entrance. It was a small opening, barely shielded by vines. "I can't stay here forever." "Use what you've been given," the figure urged. "Channel the energy of the shrine. It will protect you. It will fight with you." As it spoke, the ground trembled again, and the light pulsed more urgently. I felt the warmth seep deeper into my skin, flowing through me. It was exhilarating and terrifying. I wanted to lash out, to send energy toward the beast, but the fear wrapped around me, making me hesitate. Suddenly, the doors shook violently. The creature had found its way to the entrance. I could hear its claws scraping against the stone, and my heart skipped with every thunderous thud. The whispers returned, louder than before, mingling with the chant. "Now!" the figure shouted, pointing toward the light illuminating the shrine. "Do not fight it. Embrace it." I took a deep breath and focused on the shimmering warmth inside me. I reached out, feeling the energy course through my fingers like electricity. With a surge of determination, I stepped forward, coming into the light cast by the markings on the wall. The moment I crossed into the glow, the air erupted around me. A barrier of light shot out from the shrine, enveloping me. I felt power swell inside, merging with my fear and uncertainty. But then everything went dark. The brilliance flickered, leaving me alone in a void. The growls and snarls of the creature echoed on the edges of my consciousness, and I knew I was running out of time. I had to find a way to harness this energy before it consumed me. And then I heard it again, clearer this time. "Face your fears." I wasn't merely hiding anymore. I had to confront whatever was out there. The creature wouldn't give up easily, and I could feel the echoes of its rage bouncing off the stone. I was out of options, thrust into a battle that felt impossible. Fear surged through my veins, but so did a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this wasn't the end. Perhaps it was the beginning. When the darkness finally lifted, I would be ready. The darkness faded unexpectedly, and I gasped as light returned to my surroundings. I was still in the shrine, but now the air vibrated with energy, surging through me like a heartbeat. The shadows twisted and flickered against the walls, and I could feel every pulse of this strange magic connecting me to the forest outside. Then I heard it. The beast was still there, growling and scratching. The sound sent chills through me, reminding me of what was at stake. "I can do this," I whispered, though my voice wavered. I turned to the glowing symbols on the wall. They felt alive, almost eager for me to understand their purpose. Suddenly, a vision flashed in my mind. I saw the forest in its prime, vibrant trees, wildlife thriving in harmony. Then, it shifted to a darkened version of the woods, twisted branches reaching out like claws, the creature standing triumphant among the destruction. "Why?" I breathed. "What does it want?" The figure from before reappeared, more defined now. Power, it said. It seeks to devour the life force that binds all things together. It wants to corrupt the very essence of this land. Then I have to stop it, I replied, new resolve building in my chest. Yes, the figure encouraged. Channel your energy. Focus not on fear, but on the forest's spirit. I closed my eyes, recalling every moment I had spent in those woods, the laughter of children, the rustling leaves, the warmth of the sun filtering through branches. I pictured the energy that connected everything, the very heart of life throughout the forest. Suddenly, I felt a shift. The light around me pulsed, expanding into a halo that surrounded my body. I concentrated on it as it surged, feeling the power course now through my veins like a wildfire. The whispers returned, not as frantic now, but filled with purpose, a collective chant from the forest itself. Release it, the figure urged. Let it guide you. My heart raced with determination. I opened my eyes and took a step toward the entrance, the energy swirling at my fingertips. I knew I had to face the creature. There was no other choice. I moved toward the small opening, vines slithering away as I grasped the barrier of light tighter. As I pushed forward, the timber creaked under the weight of the beast's attacks. Adrenaline pumped through me. When I finally emerged, the night air hit me like a wave. The creature stood just outside the shrine, its massive form cast in shadows. Red eyes burned with hunger, and jagged teeth glinted menacingly in the dim light. I took another step, glancing down to see the barrier of light flicker around me. Felt strong, like a shield urging me forward. Show yourself, I commanded, my voice stronger than I felt. With a deafening growl, the creature lunged. I raised my hands instinctively, and a beam of light shot out, colliding with the monstrous figure. The beast stumbled back, and for a fleeting moment, its hatred flickered, revealing something deeper in agony that mirrored my own. That's when I saw it. A shadowy figure clung to the beast, a silhouette of broken dreams and anguish. My heart sank as I realized this was more than just a monster hunting for power. It was a creature trapped by its pain, trying to consume what it felt it had lost. As the creature roared, I understood with chilling clarity. I didn't just have to fight it. I had to heal it. But how? Questions raced through my mind, each one more urgent than the last. How do I release the pain? I muttered to myself, feeling the power from the shrine surge brighter around me. It was like a whisper from deep in the woods, echoing faintly before I could process it further. The creature charged again, its grotesque form barreling toward me. I braced myself. This was just the beginning. The beast lunged, and I barely dodged its massive claws. I stumbled back, catching my breath. Confusion swirled in my mind like a storm. I wasn't just here to fight. I needed to connect with it. But how could I reach something so monstrous? The underbrush shivered as I recalled all the stories shared among the rangers in Appalachia. We learned the importance of balance in nature. Every creature, even this one, had a role. There had to be a way to restore that balance. I focused again, drawing energy from the glowing symbols. The air buzzed, thick with anticipation. You don't want to attack me, I said, trying for a calmness I didn't feel. There's more to you than this rage. The beast paused, its growls turning into low, pained whines. Its red eyes flickered, struggling between fury and something else. Fear? Loneliness? What happened to you? I asked, my voice softer. What made you this way? To my surprise, the words resonated through the creature. It hesitated, its massive frame quivering. I took a step closer, my heart thudding in my chest. Maybe I could break through to it. Let me help you, I urged. I can feel your pain. I understand. With that, I reached out with my hand, my barrier of light shimmering brighter. The darkness shifted slightly, revealing a flash of the shadowy figure still clinging to the beast. It looked almost human, its eyes filled with sorrow. Help, it seemed to whisper, barely audible over the rustling leaves. Realization crashed over me like a wave. The very essence of the forest surrounded us, feeding me with strength, knowledge, and compassion. I had to harness that. I closed my eyes again, feeling the warmth wash over me, the chants from the woods spiraling into something tangible. "Please," I said again, letting the energy flow like a river from my hands. The bright light shot forward, intertwining with the darkness. It wrapped around the beast like a comforting embrace, linking our fates together. The creature roared, this time not from anger, but from something deeper, a cry of desperation. I felt its pain surge through me like a powerful current. Images flashed in my mind. Loss, isolation, and a longing for connection. This creature hadn't always been a monster. It was a guardian that had lost its way, overcome by grief and suffering. "Let it go," I urged, pouring more energy into my plea. The shadows around the creature wavered, the silhouette separating from it, struggling against some invisible force. I couldn't allow it to cling to that pain any longer. With every ounce of my will, I shouted, "Come back. You're stronger than this." The shadows writhed in agonizing silence. Then, as if some great weight had been lifted, the dark figure released its hold, dissipating into the night. The beast paused, its growl fading into a whimper. Slowly there was a change. The anger in its eyes started to soften. Then I saw there was a flicker of understanding, of light breaking through the darkness. Before I could react, the creature took a hesitant step back, its form shifting. Suddenly, the crushing pressure of its presence faded away, and I found myself facing not a monster, but a being wrapped in fragile light. But the energy around me began to flicker, signaling that my connection was weakening. Just as quickly as the transformation occurred, the new figure started to waver, caught between two worlds. "No," I shouted, doing everything I could to keep the energy flowing. "Stay with me." The figure hesitated, glancing back toward the shadows, then toward me as if deciding. Then it turned away from the darkness. Then everything went cold, and I gasped as the light around me dimmed. The bonds I had tried to forge were slipping. "Don't leave," I begged, panic rising. The shadows began to swirl, and a new, more ominous presence emerged from the depths of the trees. It was then that I knew the battle wasn't over. There was something worse lurking behind the veil, and it was coming for us both. The air lay thick with tension as I stood in that clearing, trying to understand the thing that I had just encountered. The transformation of the creature from a monstrous being to something almost ethereal was mesmerizing and terrifying all at once. Shadows still flickered around me, but I knew I had little time to process what had just happened. The darkness had shifted, and I sensed another threat lurking just beyond the edges of the night. A low growl echoed through the trees, a warning that something was approaching, something bigger and far more dangerous than the creature I had just confronted. Panic surged within me again, and my heart raced. Time was running out. I looked around, desperate for an escape, but the ancient stone structure loomed behind me like a faded memory, my safety, but also a reminder of the struggle I had just endured. The whispers had quieted, but the weight of unseen eyes pressed down on me. Drawing on the last remnants of strength that had built from the shrine's energy, I backed away slowly, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Then, out of the depths came the figure once more, an entity drenched in sorrow and malice, its presence palpable. It was larger than life, darker than the night, a creature of hunger, primal and angry. "Not again," I muttered, gripping the flashlight tightly as if it could shield me from this new horror. I still had its energy alive, but now I could feel the boundaries of that flow were thin. I needed a plan, and I needed it quickly. "Face your fear," the whispers returned, this time louder and more insistent. They circled around me, merging like the winds through the trees. And there it was, breathing heavily, the malevolence wafting toward me. The space around the entity felt hot with rage, a stark contrast to the coolness of the night air. I wished for the light of the shrine. Its magic had felt so potent when I stood within its walls. But I'd felt the creature know. The guardian reached toward healing, toward understanding. I held onto that connection like a lifeline. Whatever it was coming for me now, I had to be ready. Thoughts raced through my mind. I wasn't just confronting a beast. I was standing at the edge of chaos. They were drawn to power, a power I now possessed, and it was time to wield it. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the energy within me swell. The last thing I wanted was to succumb to despair, just as the guardian had almost been consumed by its pain. "Stay away," I shouted, funneling the energy through my hands. The light flared, illuminating the surroundings as if to manifest my will against this shadowy entity. The monster roared, a void of sound that shook the ground beneath me, but I did not flinch. Instead, I remembered who I was, what my role in these woods had always been: to protect, give care, and embrace the connections that bind life. The very core of those whispers surged inside me, pushing away doubt. "You are not welcome here," I bellowed, harnessing the energy with every ounce of determination. The shadow stumbled back, momentarily halted. In that moment of vulnerability, I pressed forward. "You cannot take what does not belong to you." I felt the warmth of the guardianess spirit soothing my pulse, reaffirming my purpose. As the light intensified, it splintered the darkness, revealing just how far it had gone, how those shadows held sorrow, anger, loss. I felt it pulse through me, that ancient connection. I concentrated hard on my own experiences in these woods: home, laughter, life. Bright memories swirled around me, manifesting my deepest feelings. "Enough!" I shouted, pushing both the light and my memories toward that beast. "You will not consume me." A piercing beam shot forth from my hands, wrapping around the shadow, weaving threads of remembrance into its essence. The air shimmered as those dark tendrils of the creature flickered under the light. The growl shifted, becoming a guttural whimper. Just like before, it wavered, the jagged edges of its fury beginning to melt away into something that resembled grief long buried and festering. The deeper I pushed, the more I felt that residual pain resonate, echoing through me. "Find peace," I urged, pouring everything I had into that moment. "Let go of the rage. You don't need to be alone anymore." A blink, the creature halted its advance, eyes narrowing. For just an instant, I saw clarity flicker within those depths, a longing for relief. "Come back to the light." With a final surge, I released the energy fully. The light exploded forth, engulfing the figure in warmth and radiance, shadows retreating as it twisted and writhed. The whispers became a solid chorus around me, urging healing and togetherness as the light enveloped the creature wholly. Suddenly, the darkness dissipated, and with a resounding gasp, the colossal figure broke away from the shadows, transforming back, created a warmth, one of life rather than of hunger. The guardian shimmered, and then they were gone. Silence fell as the moon poured light across the clearing. I stumbled back, blinking as I tried to grasp what had just happened. It was finished, at least for now. Breathless, I looked around the glade, unsure of what the future held. The forest breathed easier, the air was clearer, and for the first time in an age, I felt hope. But I had made an enemy too. Something darker still lurked somewhere deep within the expansive woods, something that one battle wouldn't eradicate entirely. Would it come back? I didn't know. What lingered in that tranquility was foreboding and understanding that the shadows were always waiting. That night, I would return home, but would I ever really leave those woods? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswered, just as they had before. I knew that in my heart, those woods would always be part of me, and that what I had witnessed would remain a mystery, a connection to something I might never fully understand. One thing remained clear: the guardianship of these lands was mine now, a bond forged of chaos, light, and deep-rooted shadows. And perhaps that was the purpose I was meant to embrace.